Hello. How's everybody doing? Thank you for joining us here on Twitch for Hey, Did You See This One? For a very special Saturday evening, late afternoon edition.
Late afternoon.
So it's my birthday month, and I want to make sure I get my shit in. But
He's been drunk for all of it.
I've been wasted. Basically though, what happened was the first week I got laid off. So I had to look for a job. So we didn't do that week. And then last week I was in Halifax. So I wanted to make sure that I got at least the three Weird Al movies. And we had originally wanted to do a fourth movie, which was going to be Pop Star, starring Andy Samberg and the Lonely Island Boys. I wanted to do that. It's probably not going to get done for this line of movies, but we will get to it eventually one day. That being
Yeah.
said, we're here. I'm your host this week, as it is my birthday week, and I'm joined as always with my beautiful co-hosts, Steven and Kaylin. How are you guys doing on this fine Saturday afternoon?
So swell. It's so nice out.
It's
It's
beautiful.
hot. It's hot in here.
It's hot in here, and everybody's wearing clothes. If you've
I'm wearing
noticed,
short shorts and a hoodie.
I've got my Hawaiian shirt on in it's more like a Samoan shirt. I'm realizing this is like Samoan.
I'm saving my Hawaiian for the next two.
For the next two. Well, I would like to thank you guys for indulging me because I am a huge fan of Weird Al. We are doing the movie. I guess you could call it a movie. It's more like a mockumentary, poorly done mockumentary.
This is not a movie. Let me just put my foot down right now.
I know,
not
Steve,
a movie.
I knew Steve was going to have issues with this. It's not very good, but it holds nostalgic value for me, and it is sort of a up to 1985, up to that point, look back at Weird Al's career, sort of through the lens of Weird Al. We get to see a lot of music videos in there. It is sort of like how they make music videos, or they used to back in the day, with a little bit of a loose string of narrative throughout. Typically, they're a little bit more serious. Like Madonna had one in the early 90s or in the 80s that was like this, where she's like getting ready to do a concert, and then it would show like concert footage. And also, I think this is a direct parody, since Weird Al, everything he does is a parody of something. This is sort of a direct parody of Spinal Tap. Obviously, Spinal Tap is way better, much better, a million times better. But this movie, so we'll just get right into our history with this movie, and I'll just go first, just to give you guys. I want to let you guys know why I made you guys sit through this, and there's a couple of reasons. First and foremost, I remember renting this from a video store in the early 90s, and I used to rent it all the time because I wanted to watch the music videos. I was obsessed with Weird Al. And also I've actually seen this like probably 20 times, but like in a very short period of time when I was 12, you know? And during that era, we didn't get a lot of Weird Al music videos on TV, except for when he took over completely through Al Music, which we do get a glimpse of in this with Al TV. He used to do that on MTV, obviously, and I was just so captivated by him taking over a whole station. The Al Music ones. Did you guys ever see Al Music? Did you see when he took over Much Music? He did a few times.
I've seen a couple of his music videos, but not the takeover thing. No.
I didn't watch Much Music.
Okay. Well, I watched a lot of Much Music as a kid.
What I did watch was the Weird Al kids cartoon show on the ABC when I was a kid. I remember that. Again, you guys are a little older than me, so I am like, even at that young of an age, 2 years is a lot.
That's
for
true.
Like consumption of stuff.
Well, but yeah, like the kids show, the Weird Al show, I loved also. But I had outgrown it a little bit, but it was on that like Saturday morning block of cartoons, and I remember watching.
I think I was like 11 or 10 or 11 when it came out, maybe so a little older.
14, 15, which is a little bit old for the brand of comedy that it was. But
I was not in high school yet. I know that much.
I believe Running with Scissors came out around when that came out with the the saga begins.
Yeah, that came in 99,
99. Yeah, right before the movie, because Weird Al got his hands on a script and he wrote the song The Saga Begins.
He didn't even have the script. He had a description of what happens in the movie from George Lucas. Just saying like, oh, this is basically what happens. And he's like, okay. And I mean, pretty accurate. Pretty accurate.
Jar Jar Binks. But this particular thing was the first time that I got any context of Weird Al outside of cassette tapes. Seeing him like really like act. I guess he's not the greatest actor, but he he doesn't really claim to be an actor. And that's basically my history with it. Now I haven't gone back and rewatched it since till today. Basically, we almost didn't do this episode today because his life's been so hectic for us. But I'm glad we could get together to talk about it, because there's some stuff to talk about in this thing. I had some sensible chuckles. Steve's looking at us with disdain because I made him watch this. I think Kaylin may have enjoyed it slightly more. In the chat earlier, Kaylin said this movie actually reminds him of me, and I totally get that, because my brand of comedy, I was having all these core memories unlocked as I was watching it. I was like, wow, I used to quote the fucking shit out of this movie. But yeah, we'll go to Steve next. I'm sure yours is going to be super long. Your history with this film.
Yeah, I watched it about an hour and a half ago for the first time ever. Yeah, I didn't even know this movie existed until you said that we were going to do it for the show. So, yeah, don't have a history with it. Zero history. Today is my first.
What's your history with Weird Al? Like you said, you watched this show.
Well, my friend Matt Durack, his older sister, had a couple of the Weird Al albums when we were kids. So
that sister's cool.
I remember liking them, but I didn't really know a lot of the songs that were being parodied. I knew a few of them because they were like, super popular songs on the radio and stuff. But it took a little while for me to kind of get into Weird Al. I think around the 6th grade is probably when I started to really get into it. And then I bought, it wasn't my first CD that I ever bought, but it was one of the first CDs that I ever bought. Was a Weird Al CD.
Ooh.
And then I bought a couple others and familiarized myself with the music that he was parodying for the most part. Even now, there are still songs that I'm like, I don't even know what song this is that he's parodying.
I think they're all parodies.
Huh?
I don't think they're all parodies.
No, they're not.
No, I know that, but like even some of the ones that are parodies, I'm like, I don't ever heard or like I'm not familiar enough with the original to like be along for the ride in terms of the joke.
For instance, I Lost on Jeopardy is a parody. I thought it was a pastiche for many years. I Lost on Jeopardy. I can't remember what song it is right now. It is a parody of I Lost. What is it? You know what?
Yeah, that was one in my notes where I'm like, is this a parody or is this just an original tune?
So yeah, it's a song called Jeopardy by the Greg Kiln Band. And the
Did they win?
Well, the song goes, "Our love's in jeopardy," like it's a love song.
Okay.
The other one that might blow your mind a little bit is the song "Midnight Star." That's playing while they're loading stuff into his hotel room. For many, many years, I tried to figure out what that was, and it only in the last few years I realized that just the piano part, at the beginning, it's the same piano part from Toto's I Love's on the Line. Love's on the line. Love isn't always on time. If you know that song, they don't sound alike, but that's an example of a style parody or a pastiche. And Weird Al has those, and then he has other style parodies where he mashes up a bunch of like he'll take an artist's whole discography and he'll use little parts to like make a song. Like he has Genius in France, which is like Weird Frank Zappa songs. Anyway, that's a little bit of, I'm going to be talking about all of this stuff because I have a 38-year career fucking listening to Weird Al. Kaylin, before we move into the main body, why don't you give us your history with this movie? And since it is the beginning of Weird Al month, like I did with Steve, I assume you watched it very recently. Give us a little bit of your history with Weird Al.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I need to start off by saying this is I'm not sure if milestone's the right word, but this is the first movie that I rented off of YouTube. So shout out
Congratulations.
to YouTube for
Sorry I made you spend $2.50.
it was $2.29.
I used my Google Play money for it.
Nice. Where'd you get that from?
There's an app that you answer like little surveys that take like literally 1 second, and then they'll give you like 40 cents.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't do that.
Not an ad for Google.
So I did rent this movie though off of YouTube for the first time, so I want to make sure that that is noted in the timeline here. I also had not heard of this movie before, and I also would, part of me kind of wants to say it's not a movie. It's a very long music video of music videos pieced together to make like a story or whatever. And but I watched it the other night and then again yesterday for my 48-hour rental viewing period.
Nice.
And I enjoyed it good enough.
Right on. What about like Weird Al in general? What's your history with Weird Al?
My history with Weird Al, I'm pretty sure the Eat It was probably one of the first things I can remember like seeing from him. And at the age I was like, oh, this is kind of funny and fun or whatever. So like, I wasn't like, instantly captivated, but I enjoyed the joke enough.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If we had more time, like if my life hadn't been completely upturned and I didn't take this trip to Halifax, I really wanted to spend a bit of time talking about his music videos specifically and the show, and I wanted to put a lot more into that element of it, but given the time crunch, I think that I'll be able to mention some things, mention some other music videos, and mention Weird Al. This is mostly a episode of this show about Weird Al, and another reason why I wanted to do this is because my chronology of his movies sort of go this one, and then UHF, and then the Weird Al story from last year is a remake of the Compleat Al.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people
like
don't
reboot
exactly
no,
like
remake
like a remake. Like a lot of people don't know about this movie, but a lot of the story beats in this are exactly the same. And when I saw the Weird Al story, I was like, this is very reminiscent of the Compleat Al. Just didn't like
they kind of like polished. It's kind of like a little more polished.
Oh, it's a lot more polished in that it's a movie, and this is a fucking like I feel like you would get this at his concert. Like that was probably the only place you
this should have been free on YouTube.
This should have been free on YouTube. And also I definitely tried to pirate it. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I didn't immediately check the torrent sites, and you can't find it. And I think it's because it was re-released on DVD in the early 2000s through Shout Factory. You're familiar with Shout Factory, Kaylin? I'm sure you have stacks of Shout Factory DVDs because they
spooky ones.
Yeah, they re-release all the weird horror movies from the 80s. So I remember when this came out on DVD, and I was like, "Fuck, I should probably grab that." And I think UHF came out at the same time, and nope, didn't get it. In fact, forgot about it completely. So we're gonna do this one sort of the beat by beat way that we do. If you guys want to interject with any thoughts, feel free. But I feel like for the format of this, since it's telling a kind of a linear story, I'm gonna just sort of go through my notes as I wrote them down. That's sort of how I intended this. So basically the movie starts out right from the FBI warning. Did you guys read the whole
hilarious?
It's talking about like if you you'll be fined if you record this video, but also your house pets will be melted and a gross odor will come out of your VCR or whatever. Did you pick up any more from that? Because I kind of realized as it was ending that it was a joke.
The thing that I found like funny about that, and I think you mentioned it in the group chat, and I also kind of Googled it a little bit, but like, so
I have it scrolling on my screen right now. I can read it if you want.
Yeah, do it.
Warning, the owner of the copyright in this motion picture has authorized its use in cassette for the purpose of private home viewing without any charge of any kind. Any other use of this cassette, including any copy, reproduction, or performance of any of the material in it, is an infringement of the copyright and may result in civil liability or criminal prosecution as provided by law.
Which is normal. That's all normal.
And that's like, and then it like kind of blanks. Then it says, but if you do insist on copying this program, please be aware that the patented copy stop system developed by the National Association of Television Research Engineers will cause severe damage to your video cassette recording device, accompanied by a bright blue-gray flash and a strong, acrid odor, which may in turn affect nearby house plants and cause discoloration of fine upholstery. In addition, you may experience headaches, drowsiness, nausea, severe loss of memory, high blood pressure, nosebleeds, and the heartbreak of psoriasis. Sorry.
Paralysis.
I'm like, how do you say this again? Household pets may develop similar symptoms, including extreme personality disorders and occasional spontaneous combustion.
So
we're not kidding about this.
Yeah.
Unlawful duplication of this program may result in local civil unrest, meteorological. Oh my god, meteorological. Oh my god, meteorological disturbances and volcanic eruptions, causing the Earth to fall out of its planetary orbit and plunge directly into the sun. The producers of this program assume no liability for any of the consequences resulting from your stupid, unthinking, greedy, and careless attempt to deprive them of income. Thank you.
So that
furthermore, no, I'm just kidding.
That would have been great. So if we had torrented it, we would have been subject to those terms. It is.
Yeah, people must have really believed that message. That's why we can't find it.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny though, because that's sort of the same. Like Kevin Smith, you guys said that if you have watched the DVD version of Clerks 3, he has a message that's kind of like, go ahead.
No, I was.
Oh, you're just saying you did watch it. And then at the end of Clerks 3, he kind of comes back on and he talks about things that weren't in the movie. And this sort of falls in line with the way that people feel about torrenting in general now, because back in the day you just literally own 2 VCRs and you would rent a movie and record it onto another VCR, and that's how you would have crazy tape collections back then. And that's how a lot of people did that with wrestling tapes and probably music videos. And like, for instance, another instance of that is early viral videos were literally tape traded, like South Park, for instance. The Jesus versus Santa original thing was tape traded in a similar way. So this is cool that they put this little nod to piracy 40 years ahead of time. But I mean, piracy obviously existed back then. So we immediately start with a parody of Jimi Hendrix. Weird Al is on stage ending a song. He starts burning his accordion, which was a great visual. That thing goes up.
I thought he was gonna play. Part of me was like, "Ooh, I hope he plays it while it's on fire."
Well, that would be amazing, but like, that's not the bit.
So dangerous.
And
also, it would like billow. It would like feed the flames. Air.
Oh
just
yeah,
going
the
in.
air.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice. Then we get and I just made a note about the store that I rented this from was called Almond Video. Do you remember that, Kaylin? Almond Video? It's like not there.
Is that
anymore.
where the 2 corner stores that had the ice cream?
No, it's down from that. It's down from that. The next corner store, right at that's Oxford Street and Young, I think. There's a gas station
up?
there.
Yeah.
South,
yeah.
Down. I don't know the compass for Nova Scotia or for Halifax really, but it's
Young,
down by
Young is up.
Like, but down by Look Ho Ho.
Yeah, that's up.
Is that up?
Down.
Okay.
Quimple's down.
Okay, I don't know. Fucking. I don't know.
Anyway, I got you. I got you.
I messed up because in Toronto, like the fucking CN Tower is always south from where you were, unless you're
Right.
in the water in the lake, then it's north. So I know I can do directions because it's also a square. It's a grid, right?
Yeah.
Halifax not like that. I can't to this day. I can't like I know where the west end is and the north end are, but if I'm like standing in the middle, there's no like I don't know what to point at to be like that's north. Really, not in the same way. And I never have. I learned that about cities when I moved here. Isn't that entertaining? How I learned about the compass. It's like a parody of
I'm
my own life. What?
I'm entertained.
Toronto's
Are you?
easy because you can literally figure out where you are based on where the CN Tower is. Like you just look for the tower
You
and
just
you're like,
look. You
well,
can
now I know where I
literally
am.
look.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only places you can't really see the CN Tower are like when you're amongst the buildings downtown,
Yeah, but
and
if you
it's
just walk in any direction, eventually you'll be able to see it.
like through the buildings. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned this city. I don't know how if you went to Halifax, it's not a very big city. I don't know how you'd like learn it. And you'd probably be in Dartmouth because that's where fucking everybody lives now. Anyway, Black Oath. Oh yeah, so we get him leaving the concert. He gets into a limo, and people are literally licking the window. So he uses paint to black it out.
No gratuitous boobs.
No, this is a kids
I
movie.
tip my hat off to him for not doing that.
I do want to mention that. I do want to mention that Weird Al has never done blue humor except for very small examples of it. One example is in this. There's no gratuitous boobs there, but when he's talking about how ancient ancient aliens basically came down and gave us the gift of rock music, and he shows the Rumors, the Fleetwood Mac Rumors album with the constellations.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, Lindsey Buckingham has balls. There's two little stars like this.
Those are little ping pongs from his vest.
They were, I thought they were balls. The other one that I can
Well, the way that he traces them, yeah, but those are already there.
Okay, well, it looked intentional as balls. The other one that I do that does come to mind though is in the Amish Paradise video when he says churning lots of butter. A girl, he's churning butter in a butter churn, and
Oh yeah.
a girl walks by and he goes faster, and I was like, wow, that's he's working blue here, ladies and gentlemen. But I don't think I've ever heard Weird Al swear. I don't think I've ever heard it. He doesn't have any songs. He's got songs that are a little bit like what the fuck, like in Trigger Happy. That song's kind of messed up.
He did Bernie's on Fire, right?
He did what?
Oh boy, Bernie's on fire. That's Weird Al, isn't it?
I don't think so. Did you
Oh.
download it off LimeWire and it said Weird Al Yankovic? Because that used to happen a lot. There was the Star Wars Cantina and Chewbacca What a Wookiee, which said Weird Al, but they were just some other parody artist back in the day on LimeWire.
Trying to get views.
Trying to get downloads for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Wild West of the internet made no sense. So I liked this line about how his parents worked all day at a factory sorting sprinkles, and then his mom would come home after a hard day's work and fold and unfold the laundry. The narration sounds so professional and like what you would hear in a real documentary, but it's all nonsense. That's the biggest thing. Like it's a good comedy. It's dry dad humor, but it's well made. It's well done for that. I will say that the slow points in this movie are the worst. That State of Shock part where they can't get Mick Jagger and MJ, and they're doing State of Shock, but it's just a guy at a desk just saying it. That gag is only funny one time. I remember fast forwarding through it every time, and I did it this time. In fact, in this watch through, because I needed to get here fast, because we started about an hour late because, well, I was being lazy. But I just fast forwarded the music videos because the music videos I've seen a million times.
Yeah.
I know all the lyrics to the songs, and they're good, but it's something that like we're not a music video review podcast. Although, anybody want to start up a little music video
Tangent?
review? Music video review.
No.
No. Okay, well, I'll do that on my own.
I think that there's one thing that annoys me more than anything in the world, and it's when we're drinking and you just continuously put on music videos, and I'm like, can I just kill myself right now? Like, is it okay if I do that in front of you? I don't like music videos.
I know. And it's funny because I went to see Hamilton last night. And I was like, man, I wish Steve could see this. And I was like, actually, Steve would probably be cringing inside out because we were in the 4th row. So like Alexander Hamilton was right there. And it's kind of like, it's a lot of rap and stuff. And I could see you being like, I hate this.
I'm familiar with Hamilton. I know what Hamilton is.
I know,
I've seen Hamilton on my TV. You can watch it on Disney Plus.
Did you cringe inside out? Because I came home and watched it immediately.
I think it's fine. I just I don't like live musical performances. They make me feel like everybody's insane on stage. I'm like, these people are all insane people. They're all crazy.
You have to be an artist.
It's true. I was crying at the end. Well, it was sad, but I was also crying because I realized that I had a real existential quandary where I realized I would never be able to see this version of Hamilton with this cast. I liked the cast so much that I was just like, I'll never get to see this again. You know, because it's not like at a concert you can like take a little video or whatever. Can't take video, can't take pictures. It's going to be just in my memory forever. I have the fucking pamphlet or whatever, so I can at least see who is in it and go find them in other stuff. But it's very depressing. Somebody that loves musical theater, I think that one was just out of control. It was the best live thing I've seen since like Ghost at the Sony Center or Slipknot. Just their Slipknot's concert is fucking out of control. Anyway, thank you for coming to our very special musical episode. I am going to break into musical very soon, and we're going to watch Steven.
Did you guys know that the majority of the budget for this movie was spent on 3 music videos that were shot for this movie specifically and then used afterwards?
What were the music videos?
Like a Surgeon, Don't Be Stupid, or Dare to Be Stupid, and One More Minute.
It's the opposite of Don't Be Stupid. Dare to be stupid.
Yeah, those 3 were. You can tell too because everything in between the bits, the sketches, the skits, they're like shot on tape. They're not shot on film, and they don't spend any money on getting actors. Like a lot of the people are playing themselves, and they're not actors, so it's just like painful to watch people trying to be funny who don't have any kind of like comedic timing or know where to stand or how to look at a camera or how to just interact with an audience through a television screen. I don't think I laughed once.
You didn't laugh once? Come on.
No, there was one part at the beginning where he uses a paint roller to black out the windows, and I was like, oh, if it's like this, then maybe I will like this. But that's the only thing that like was absurdist the entire time. It was all just kind of like people in rooms talking, and the dialogue is meant to be funny, but it's just like, they're saying silly things, yes, but the people who are saying them are not funny people, so the silly things just come off as dumb and lazy.
The blacking out the window thing reminded me of like a Leslie Nielsen movie. Like it's a gag right out of Airplane.
But then there's nothing else like that.
That's right. You're right. I forgot that this movie was just a lot of him talking, like a lot of record producers talking at him, and a lot of
him like being like
making faces.
What are you saying to me?
That's funny.
I will say he does have a bit of a like a chameleon face where when he does different things with his hair, he looks like a different person.
That's true. Speaking of, after we talk about his parents, we have a little interview with them where they're talking about how he loved TV growing up, and they do a little bit where they show like the Munsters and the Man from U.N.C.L.E. And then we go into, this is how they set up the music videos a lot of time. It'll be like just a bunch of stuff happening, and then some people will talk about something very specific, and then they'll bust into a music video. And then here we got the music video for Lucy, which was a parody of
Oh, Mickey, you're so
yeah,
fine. You're
of
so fine. You
Mickey.
blow my mind. Hey, Mickey.
But I always loved this song as a kid because it goes through the whole song, and then at the end he says everybody rumba, and then we get the I Love Lucy theme as part of it. Weird Al does this sometimes. He had a straight up cover on one of his albums of the George of the Jungle theme. Obviously a huge fan of TV. He's got the In 3D album, but that's more like
Friday the 13th.
yeah, that has Nature Trail to Hell on it, which is like a parody of basically telling the story of a Jason like horror movie that came out around the same time as Friday the 13th Part 3 would have come out, which we did cover recently. We did cover in the Grimoire
in 3D.
in 3D. So at this time, the albums that Weird Al would have out are only, I think, his first album and In 3D are the only albums that exist at this point. And UHF was probably coming down the pipe soon, which is crazy to think. Weird Al's had such a prolific career. He's been around, he's been writing music, well, he's been parodying music for 40 years. He also like writes a lot of his own songs, as we mentioned, but like during this era, he was like just the Eat It guy, basically, which is crazy to think about because he's had so many of those. Like he was like the originator of like virality, almost, of like viral memes, you know, in a lot of ways. Like he sort of got that generation of word of mouth thing that we now see. Like nowadays, something like Eat It comes along and people joke about it for and make memes about it for like a week max. If it's got tens of millions of views and likes. Back then there was like this was out for years people were like he parodied Michael Jackson. That's unheard of. That's crazy. And also there's a whole album of this. And a lot of people were just like, nah, I'm not gonna listen to that. Just completely.
Yeah, parody is not really a thing anymore, and
not really.
when it comes
Not in
around,
this
it's
way.
usually just cringy. But he's also better at it. Like
He's
just at the end of the day, it's like when other people try and parody in the way that he does, they're never able to sort of match the tongue-in-cheek, clean and fun comedy of it all. It's like it always just comes off as cringy and lazy, you know, the low-hanging fruit sort of thing.
The reason I wanted to do Pop Star, and I'll just mention this here because this is really why I wanted to do it. The Lonely Island don't do direct parodies. They do more like style parodies,
Right.
and they make a music video that's in the style of the era. You know, like Dick in a Box, because it kind of has that like early '90s R&B like look and feel to the song. But it's not a direct parody of anything. They also work incredibly blue on every one of their songs. Every one of their songs is like like adult humor. But
we're just two guys and we're having a good time.
Yeah. Right, guy number one.
Yes, guy number two.
Oh,
it's Steve. Who invited him? Yeah, he's a cunt.
He's a cunt hole. That cunt hole, Steve.
Yeah, it's not safe. It's always vile, gross stuff. But yeah, I mean, they are. I wouldn't even call them the exception because it's completely different, right? They're more like a Tenacious D where they're just making original songs.
Yeah. Well, okay, Tenacious D is a great example. So Tenacious D and then Lonely Island are the closest I've ever seen to another Weird Al. But both of them are more for like older teens to young adults. What?
What about Lil Dicky?
Little Dicky though is like a serious artist. I don't know if you've watched
probably the worst Adam Sandler movie.
That's Little Nicky. Little Dicky is like he makes joke songs that he wants to be serious. And then ended up sort of transitioning into serious music. If you watch Dave, I get that it's a joke, but I feel like he legitimately thinks the way that the character Dave thinks on the show. But that is a good example as well, Kalen. It is in like the rap world of it.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm thinking of like all the parodies that I see on the internet where they take a song and just change the lyrics to
Oh,
like
I made some.
well, you should probably let me finish my point, and that they're all fucking terrible and cringy, and I hate them. Like one that comes to mind is someone did a parody of Man Eater, like, oh, here she comes, she's a man eater, but they like changed it to Death Eater, and they just made it like a Harry Potter
Hate it.
style thing, and I
Hate
was like,
that.
this is
You saying
embarrassing to
you
to
saying Death
watch.
Eater baby actually cringe. The one that I always think of is there's a channel on YouTube called In the Key of Awesome, which already nope, that I hate that. They would do really bad parodies that were like a modern pop song, and then they just changed the lyrics to something like somewhat topical. And sure, the songs were well produced ish.
You guys want to hear mine?
Yeah.
Let's go smoke some pot.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
baby, let's go smoke some pot. Oh,
That one's
baby.
funny. That one's okay.
Drop
But
my bong, broken glass.
that's true. You can find all these hits. Kalen's stoked. I mean, Steve's
I'm
stoked.
already like, I gotta get out of here.
Anyway, back to the movie. We move to his high school era. We get a interview with his shop teacher, and he tells a story about how Weird Al made a wiener warmer, where you put the hot dog and then it warms it on the outside.
Let's not forget the joke about the dorsal underbelly.
That was the next one, Kalen. I'm going in order.
Ah, damn, my bad.
You blew it. No, just kidding. Anyway, and then it short circuits and takes out power for the neighborhood. And the next one was his biology teacher, where the gag here is that he's smoking, like can't get his fucking thoughts out, but he
See, like
basically
that was just like if you had a good actor doing that bit, it would probably be much funnier. Imagine like Gilbert Gottfried doing that. Like that would be so much more hilarious. But it's just some guy who like is bad at acting and coughing at the wrong moments.
which would be appropriate for the era because Gilbert Gottfried was huge at this time. He was a huge comedian at this
Killed it.
Yeah, I also get that they, the budget was 250,000, which is not a lot, and if they spent the majority of that on the music videos, which are well produced and good, and they live on to this day, people will probably still watch them to this day more than they watch this movie. But if they had just a little bit of sprinkling of like cameos of the era, because I know they do have a couple cameos, but
They got Dick Clark.
Like, yeah, it's like okay, fuck. Maybe other musicians, but it would have been great if people showed up. I don't know how popular he was at this point, but yeah, you were saying he was just the Eat It guy at this point. So I don't know. I mean, we get the Weird Al movie that came out last year, and that's sort of the answer to that, where there's just a million cameos.
Everybody
Every
is
scene
somebody.
is just a cameo. Yeah. Conan O'Brien as Andy Warhol is like the funniest thing I've ever seen. Just going around like a creep filming people. It's funny. I was listening to his podcast, and somebody brought it up to him, and he had forgotten that he was in that movie.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. That's a great. That's
like, I was in that.
It's like, oh yeah, I filmed that like years ago. I filmed a
What
little
did I
bit.
do? Yeah, it's like you were Andy Warhol, and he's like, that's right. I totally forgot about that.
In a lot of ways, it felt like we'll talk about this obviously during the Weird episode in a couple weeks, but it felt in a lot of ways that they took that Funny or Die parody of a biopic, and then which actually starred Aaron Paul as Weird Al, which was fun. But it beat for beat, it's about the same as the movie, but felt like that came out, and then the buzz generated because it was a viral hit. The buzz generated. They just started working on the movie, and that fucking thing came out 10 years ago, and it feels like they started working on it like a year later because that trailer was so good that people thought it was real, even though it was a Funny or Die parody.
Yeah. There was one thing that made me chuckle, and it was just like such a quick line by the narrator, which is that his palatial estate is now known as Yankland.
Yeah, Yankland. Previously owned by Charlie Chaplin and Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah, that was good.
And it's funny too because like a lot of the references are so dated now. Yeah, Charlie Chaplin would have been like in the 80s would have been recent memory comparatively.
True, but I think that everybody knows who Charlie Chaplin, and it probably will forever. It's
That's
kind of
true.
like one of those things that lives on beyond its even
I don't
quality.
I don't remember who Ricardo Montalban is though.
He isn't he the guy in Khan from the Wrath of Khan?
Oh, I think you're right.
uh,
Montalban. Yeah, Madison just yelled from upstairs, "It's Khan!"
It's Khan, yeah.
You friggin' Trekkies and your insistence.
He was also the grandpa in the Spy Kids movies.
Okay, perfect.
If you're familiar with the Spy Kids franchise.
All four of them.
Was good.
3 of them, and then made for.
Oh, he's also Fantasy Island. He's the guy.
Yeah.
That's like the original.
Welcome to Fantasy Island.
But yeah, Khan is the main one that everybody knows.
The little guy's like the plane. So yeah, then we get the biology teacher talking about the dorsal coloration of the speckled salamander, which reminded him of his shirts. And then we get a clip of him he had to get a job, so he was a quality tester at a nasal decongestant factory, which is referenced again in a song. I think you talk about it in Albuquerque on Running with Scissors. But word combinations is a thing that Weird Al is really good at. And nasal decongestant factory, for some reason, has a sing-songy sound to it, in my opinion. And then it's like, and then he worked at an ice cream parlor. And then we get the video for I Love Rocky Road, which is a parody of I Love Rock and Roll by Pat Benatar, I think. Not Pat Benatar. It is a song.
I like the fart sounds in it.
Yeah, the hand fart sounds. So I can tell you a little information about that. It's Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. The fart sound that you hear in old Weird Al music is an actual guy. They use the same guy for all of it. Yeah. Fail. And he's actually featured in the video for Headline News, which was the remember Crash Test Dummies, that song or whatever it was called. He's in it. He's doing his fart sounds, but he was in that sound. He's on so many albums. I think possibly every album has a little bit. Speaking of every video, I think Dr. Demento's in every one of these music videos as well. He's in at least the first 3 or 4. Dr. Demento is where Weird Al got to start. We're going to talk about that in a minute. A fun fact that I know about the I Love Rocky Road video is the ice cream in it is mashed potatoes. So every time you see Weird Al take a bite of an ice cream cone, it's mashed potatoes. And they couldn't get there was one shot they couldn't get right. And he tells the story about how he was just sick from having to like slam mashed potatoes all day. And like weird, like
he swallowed it. I don't feel like you don't need to swallow it.
I don't know. He's
Spit
weird.
it out.
I'll do it.
Just have a potato bucket.
Gross. They keep showing shots of him in his room throughout these first bits because he's in college and high school. And every time they show a picture of his room, I think of the first album cover, which is a hand-drawn picture of him in a room that's just like a whole bunch of Easter eggs. And then on top of that, that is a parody of a Frank Zappa album cover, I believe. So like nice. Weird Al's layers he's not just like he doesn't just do parodies that are just like a one note. He's always doing a parody of a parody of a parody, which like this whole special kind of is. It's a parody of like Spinal Tap, but then within it there are a bunch of parodies of different things. And then his music videos are parodies of music videos. And then those music videos are parodies of the actual music videos that they're lampooning, right? Like I guess Lucy isn't really, because the Mickey video is just what's her face dressed as a cheerleader, but the I Love Rocky Road is basically shot for shot remake. Eat It is like a shot for shot remake.
Eat It for sure.
Like a surgeon is similar. I've never seen the music video for Jeopardy, but I assume it's something like this. I don't know. I like the gag that they do at the beginning and end where all of his girlfriends are like this.
Pie in the face, yeah.
He's like, and they're all like, I think that's a funny little bit. Oh yeah, the little bit about him coming up with a city because he wanted to be an architect, and then he didn't get to be an architect because he came up with Burgeropolis.
There was a hot dog.
Yeah, there would be a
That's
hot
not
dog.
a burger.
I know, but there would be a hot dog in Burgeropolis, I think.
No.
Concession food.
I would assume
No.
anything that is cooked on a grill would be fair
No.
game in Burgeropolis.
Change the name then. Grillopolis.
That's,
It's not as funny as burger. Burger is a funnier word.
burger's
than
a
grill.
funny word. Burgeropolis.
Get rid of the hot dog then. Keep the burger.
Jesus, I didn't know you were a city planner,
Is
Caitlin.
is this your hill you're gonna die on? Like, you can't put a hot dog in Burgeropolis, or else it's
No.
Grillopolis.
It's gonna
Fuck no.
confuse people.
I almost didn't want to let the ketchup or mustard be there either.
Okay, well, there's ketchup and mustard go on a hot dog, on a burger and a hot dog. So
Exactly. That's what I said.
This is some real white supremacy energy coming from you right now from Burgeropolis.
It's the hoodie that did it.
don't put the hood up.
Yeah, don't do that.
So then they show him working. This made me laugh out loud, where he's working at the radio station, and he's like, and our next caller wants to hear Pat Boone coming up on Instant Request, and then he just puts on Bird is the Word and just starts going.
What about the record breaking?
Oh yeah, we have record breaking. He smashes a record. We have record breaking listeners or whatever.
Record breaking hit or something like that.
I find that to be funny. I find that's totally my brand of comedy, where it's just complete non sequitur nonsense. You didn't find the putting on Bird is the Word to be kind of similar to the blacking out the window at the beginning, kind of absurdist and
No.
no.
I like the painting with the eye beams. That was cool.
That's true. Well,
when he goes to Michael Jackson in his haunted house that he lives in.
Wow.
That's absurdist. Where Michael Jackson lives in a haunted house with a tiger that he feeds from his hand.
And just bursts into
turns into a werewolf
Thriller.
At the end or something.
Yeah. Okay, so then we get the bit about him recording My Bologna.
The acoustics of the bathroom were perfect.
Exactly. And that's brought up basically in every interview that Weird Al's ever done. He talks about this. It's brought up in the movie, in the new movie. I knew it from this originally, and it's cool. It's cool. It's a cool thing. It's a cool little fact about Weird Al, but I think everybody knows it. And then like Kayla was saying, the interview with Phil Ramone about how he found the perfect bathroom with the perfect acoustics. And then they talk about how he would send records to Dr. Demento, and Dr. Demento sort of gave him his first big break. And Barry Cohen became his agent. And then we get that scene with the dog trainer coming in, which is more towards what Steve's talking about. And like that, I thought was just kind of hokey, kind of cheesy. And the little dog doing a trick across the table was fun, but like the dog trainer comes in, he's just like, I need an advance on my pay so I could feed my dogs. It's just kind of like, get out of here.
Yeah. There was too many moments that had like montagey stuff going on that went on for too long and were not funny. Like when they're auditioning all the musicians.
That's the next part, yeah.
They could have had some of those for sure.
This is, I think, the first example, but there's a whole bunch of these moments throughout the movie where they'll do like this sequential visual comedy, but it just didn't work for me, I guess. Like when he's trying on all the clothes, I'm like,
so
none of the clothes are all that funny. Like they're just clothes.
It goes back more to this scene, and that scene specifically go back more to like it being a parody within a parody, because the guitar players that they're auditioning are Randy Rhoads, and then a Beatles, like the Beatles, and then like Van Halen, basically, because he just goes wah, and then like a John Mellencamp love song, then Lady Rocker, like Pat Benatar, and then I don't know who the guy that did the riff from the song Soul Man. He could be like Joe Cocker maybe, and then Punk on a banjo, Punk playing a banjo, and then Weird Al going. I thought that made me chuckle. I thought, I know it's stupid. I get that it's dumb.
I
But
was tired of the bit by that point.
a punk
I was
rocker
like,
playing
can
a
we move
banjo.
on, please? I get it. They're doing the thing where weirdos audition for something. It's in every fucking thing that's ever existed.
I think that was a cliche in 1985 already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's been around. It's been around the block, that bit.
And they do it in the Weird movie, right? Don't they? In the Weird Al story,
maybe,
with that
but it's
punk
probably
band?
funnier because it's like they're giving the people, the performers, a moment. Like the thing that's not funny about it is it's reliant on either them being bad at playing the guitar, or it's just supposed to be like, isn't it funny that this guy's dressed like this and he's playing this instrument? But you think of something like The Simpsons or whatever as an example, where they're auditioning, Mr. Burns is auditioning people to play him in a movie, and it's just like they have a moment to speak and say something, and it's all just weird. It's like Bumblebee Man and then Hannibal Lecter,
Exactly.
for example. Yeah, so it's like, the bit, the humor is not coming from somebody going next. It's the humor is coming from what the people are doing, and nothing that the people in that bit are doing is funny.
Yeah.
Except for either they look funny or they suck at the instrument they're playing, and that's, once you do that once, it's not funny anymore.
It's a joke more for like people who like Easter eggs, I think, too.
I know, but if
like,
they got the musicians who were supposed to be parodying, then it would have been funny, because they're saying next to professional musicians who
I
are
agree with
amazing
you.
at their job.
I agree with you. I'm just saying it in this context, I think it was just more for the people to be like, oh, I recognize that look.
Yeah.
Then they have the meeting with Ronzoni Records. Then they keep calling them different things like Crazy Al and Wild Al and Big Al. That was fine. It's funny. And
hey, Jason, do you remember the guy from Park Lane Theaters?
Parkland Theaters?
Park Lane on
the guy that looked like Weird Al.
Yeah.
Big guy.
I won't say the mean. I won't say
no,
the mean
I won't say the
version.
mean. I won't say the mean thing about him. But yeah, what about him?
No, that's it.
Just remember that guy. I do.
Yeah.
I do. I'll say it. I'll say it off camera so Steve gets the context. But you can probably put
Assuming
together.
it's a fat joke of some sort. It's like, I think I can put the pieces together.
I think that I gave you enough context to figure that one out.
He held it down, though. He held it down. He made sure no one snuck in.
He held it down in that he worked there for 30 years.
No, he made sure people didn't sneak in, and however long he worked there for.
Yeah. Does Park Lane Theater still exist?
Yeah. And they still have that elevator doorway, secret way, whatever.
I don't know. I remember them putting in a corner store, being like, don't bring in snacks, and then opening a convenience store literally like inside of like convenience store and then the theater. And I was always like, if you don't want me to just fill my fucking pockets with candy from this convenience store, why would you put it here? They knew what they were doing.
They knew damn right.
And then you learn later in life that you can just fucking bring food in. They can't legally tell you.
One time I brought in a burger.
Yeah, fuck it. It sucks for the people sitting around you, but like, do what you want.
Yeah, only because they don't have a burger to enjoy.
Exactly. Bring in a whole plate of shawarma. Then we'll talk.
Oh God.
I'm gonna bring in a falafel.
One of the worst
extra garlic sauce
experiences I've ever had was when I went to go see The Watchmen in IMAX in the Mississauga Theater, the Colossus or the Coliseum. I can't remember what it's called, but it's big. And their food area was like every restaurant that you could think of, really. Like they had a Pizza Hut or I don't know, a pizza store. They had a sub store. They had everything at concession that you could think of in terms of food. Also just like stink food, like food that smells crazy. And I'm watching The Watchmen. There's this guy next to me.
So it's you that's watching The Watchmen when they.
I'm watching The Watchmen when they ask. It's me, yes. And this guy eats a full fucking pizza with like all this shit on it, and it's just like reeks. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, if you're not hungry and food smells hitting you, you're kind of like, get this away from me. And he finishes the pizza, and I'm like, thank fucking God. And then under the chair, he pulls out a thing of nachos and is just crunching away at the nachos. And I'm like, fuck. And now he's making noise, which is more annoying. And then he finally finishes the nachos. And I'm like, thank God it's over. And then he pulls out a sub and is crinkling the sub wrapper. I'm like, this guy is just vacuuming food down his face. And he was like, it was like a tiny, like teenage boy.
This sounds like a bit from this movie.
And then also, if you've seen The Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan is like a big naked blue man. And you see his dick like a bunch of times in the movie. I think it's like 3 or 4 times you see his dick. And every time the dick would go on the screen, this guy next to me, while like shoveling handfuls of food into his mouth, is like, oh God, and he would like pull his hood over his face and cover his eyes, like seeing a dick is going to somehow confirm to the entire theater that you're gay.
You're gay.
Looked
you
at
saw
the blue
penis.
dick, and it's on an IMAX screen, so it's probably the size of your whole body.
That's the most immature reaction to that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I told him to shut the fuck up and finish his sub.
I've probably told this story on the podcast, but when I went to see the Simpsons movie, I had this like kind of younger girl sitting next to me who I guess had never seen the Simpsons, because every joke would land for her, which was great, but her reaction to every joke was like, oh my God, that's crazy. Oh, she's so crazy. Every joke for an hour and a half. It was the worst. And you can't just be like, stop, because
you're having a good time.
They're having a good time. They're not like on their phone. There were no real phones at the time, but it's not like when you're in a theater and you're watching the movie and then they pull their phone out, like just in your peripheral vision, and that's all you can fucking now see is them, like the light of their phone. I think, what was the last movie I even saw? I think when we went to see Ant-Man, that happened, and I was like, I'm gonna start killing. I cannot.
Oh jeez.
I cannot with this.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it,
people. But the point that I was trying to make is that the theater is giving this guy ammunition to annoy other people. If you're giving people crunchy food and loud rapper food, like, why are you selling that here? Everything should be soft and silent when you eat it.
It's true. Bring your paste tubes and just squirt them in.
But I mean, like, popcorn doesn't really crunch when it's in your mouth. It's kind of got like a sort of fluffiness to it. Doesn't crunkle and crunch. But if you were to sell bags of chips at the fucking theater and people are just crunching and popping bags in the aluminum paper of it, it would just, oh God.
I'm sold. Astronaut toothpaste food. Let's do it.
I've been that asshole who brought a whole ass bag of cookies and like trying to like get a cookie out when there's an action scene.
Yeah. The best is when you hear somebody open clearly a pop or like a beer or something from outside the theater. Like you just, a silent part, you just hear like, like, oh God, somebody snuck like Dr. Pepper in here.
Yeah, like when we went to see Avatar and we were all drinking weed drinks.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because you were high on weed drinks.
Kind of like how you forgot that you need to order 6 sets to get the free smiley face air freshener.
Oh, you're bringing it back to the movie? I did just gloss over. I was going to just mention, but we kind of went on a tangent, that Weird Al basically says nothing up to this point in the movie, and they're pitching stuff to him, and he just goes, okay. And I thought that was fun. I like it when the main character doesn't talk. He doesn't really talk a whole lot in this movie, except for when they do the.
You'll like Drive then.
I do like Drive. I haven't seen the whole movie, but I did like the first 45 minutes or whatever I saw. I don't remember why I turned it off. I think I fell asleep and never finished. But yes, Drive, of course, is a great movie. Then we get so Steve, I didn't realize that these two not only, you're right, montages in this are a little bit tiresome, but the 2 montages you're talking about happen basically right after,
very close to one another.
Then they bookend a really boring scene of just executives saying, like, talking at Weird Al.
There's like no jokes in the scene either. Like it's like the joke is that he likes monogrammed golf balls, and I'm like, it's not even that funny.
Cameron likes that one. I liked them calling him Wild Al. I thought Wild Al was funny, but you can't base a whole scene around saying a person's name wrong.
Yeah.
But the
the joke is like, we're gonna talk serious business. Can we talk alone? And then everybody leaves, and he's like, "You got any more of those monogram golf balls? My buddies want them." And it's like, oh my God, did you guys not have the ability to get somebody to punch this fucking script up?
It's weird though. They just want it to be weird. The great thing here though well, they do show, it is like stupid. They do show him in different costumes. The costumes are like Billy Idol, Bruce Springsteen, I think Michael Jackson, Freddie Mercury,
Was
I
there a
think was the
Prince
first one,
one?
Yeah,
possibly.
he's just dressing like famous people,
The,
famous pop stars.
the song playing over it though is um Slime Creatures from Outer Space. And that song is sort of like it's sort of a song about literally just aliens coming down and taking over. It's funny. But the style parody is if you mixed Rock Lobster with a Thomas Dolby song. Specifically,
Love Shack.
No, Thomas Dolby wrote the song Hyperactive, and a couple other ones. They're featured in the GTA, the Grand Theft Auto Vice City soundtrack, the 80s one. That's where I
Nice.
know them from. And this song I've always loved. It's off of In 3D as well, I believe. Let me double check that for you. This movie, I think it's off Dare to Be Stupid. Right, Dare to Be Stupid is a whole album unto itself that also came out around this time. That would be the album that's out right now when this movie came out.
Dare to Be Stupid.
What did I say? Dare to Be Stupid. I can't hear you. Oh, actually, before I forget, I have this. It's another thing I wanted to bring up.
Is it a comic book?
It's like it's like a graphic novel, and inside the graphic novel, it's different artists doing their interpretations of songs that don't have music videos.
Nice.
And Dare to Be Stupid is in here, and it's, even though Dare to Be Stupid does have a music video, which is stupid because in the beginning, the forward is by Emo Phillips, and he was like, if you wondered what some of your favorite Weird Al songs would look like if they had music videos, well, look no further. And immediately I'm like, a couple of these have music videos. Anyway, it's a great book. I'm glad I could mention it on the show. Graphic novel style, different art. It's funny.
Ooh, nice.
Cool.
And do you know what I did?
Bada beep, bada bop, bada boom.
I made a playlist of the songs that are featured in the book, and I read along to the songs. I thought was an interesting way to take in media.
Are we gonna karaoke?
You just asked me if I've ever heard of karaoke.
No, I said, are we going to karaoke?
Oh, I'd love to. I did karaoke while I was there. Where the fuck were you, buddy?
Thanks for the invite.
Well, I don't know. Anyway, I did Tenacious D tribute, and I tore down the house, and then these 19-year-old kids followed me around for the rest of the night, and I was their god.
Oh, nice.
But I don't know if I was their god or if they were dinner for schmucksing me. That's what I couldn't figure out. You know, Steve, you know the concept of dinner for schmucksing somebody?
Yes.
You didn't react to it, so I thought you might have been like, what's this?
That's because that's how I feel every day of my life with every person that I interact with all the time.
I would never dinner for schmucks you.
No,
I know, but that's how I feel. every time I'm in a situation, I'm like, am I the schmuck?
Get a load of this guy. Isn't he weird? Isn't he like Zach Galifianakis in that movie? Isn't he like Steve Carell in that one movie where where Paul Rudd wants to become a executive, so he goes to a dinner for schmucks party and they all bring their weirdo friends?
Yeah, that's how I feel. Then we're at Michael Jackson's mansion.
Michael Jackson's house.
Mansion.
Steve, why don't you tell us about Michael Jackson's haunted mansion?
Well, there's a Grammy for a door knocker. The butler is a creepy old man with a snake around him. It's full of smoke when the door opens. And then he goes through a hallway with a painting of a woman, and the beams of light coming out of her eyes follow him, which I thought was a pretty fun little trick. Something that I don't know if I've seen that before. And I was like, that's cool. I like that this happened. And
it's
then,
usually the eyes just follow.
It's just the eyes, yeah.
Yeah, but the beams of light, like they must have been moving light around it. And like, I've never seen that before. It's like something that would be in like a Carpenter movie or something. And then we go into the inner sanctum of Michael Jackson's house, where he's sitting on a throne in like a Beatles outfit, kind of. but it's
Well,
not his
yeah,
like
it's like
classic
his
thread or anything. Yeah.
Oh no, that's he did do a kind of a
Yeah,
general package
the
yeah,
thing with
album
Conductor.
cover where he's like the statue is he's
Yeah.
wearing basically that.
Well, in the 80s though, around this time, he had like that colorful Conductor sort of look.
Yeah. He's sitting on a throne. He doesn't say a single word. Weird Al is basically asking his permission to parody Beat It. And before he can say yes or no with a thumbs up or down, I guess they didn't want to do like a Michael Jackson impersonation because like it can be kind of tacky. Not that they were really scared of doing anything else tacky in this movie. The Bubbles or whatever that monkey's name is. Yeah, the gangs are coming to kill me.
Nice.
That's just like erased
Bubbles
my
the
thought
monkey.
process.
Bubbles
Oh
the
yeah, the
monkey.
monkey pops down, gives him a kiss, leaves. Michael Jackson says "Yay" or puts a thumbs up, and then Weird Al leaves, super happy, elated. What a nice guy! Wow, Michael Jackson is turning into a werewolf in the background. Now he doesn't pay attention to it at all, and then he leaves. Yeah.
Michael Jackson also, when he's werewolf mode, you think he's gonna like attack or something, but he just like waves. He's like, bye.
Yeah. See.
So that was a funny sequence. I'll just give a little bit of tidbit about Weird Al's process for parodies. With parody law, or like the laws and precedents with creating music, parodies, you're allowed to just make them. That's why there's so many bad ones, because you're just allowed to fucking make a parody, and it's protected under different copyright laws. There's also interpolation, where you like take a bit of the song and like put it in yours, or like use a bit of somebody else's song and make it into a whole song. Those are situations where you have to give writers credit and royalties, but parody, totally fine. Weird Al has made a career out of asking all the people he wanted to parody if they could use their song. And some examples of this not going well are Michael Jackson, always yes. Michael Jackson and Weird Al were like not friends, but like he was like, that's cool. Michael Jackson was kind of a weird dude, I think, when it came to stuff like the stuff that we know, whatever. I'm talking about, like, he did like the soundtrack for Sonic the Hedgehog 2 as like an unrated, an uncredited thing, and like he's the voice of that character in The Simpsons that time, uncredited.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, Lisa, it's your birthday.
He's
No,
literally he's playing a man who thinks he's Michael Jackson. Yes.
Yeah. Uncredited. So there are situations. So when he went into this haunted mansion, I forgot about this bit, and I thought, because nowadays Weird Al tells stories about trying to get Prince to sign off on parodies, and he's only ever done style parodies of Prince, because Prince was like, hard no, fucking hard. If you do that, I'll sue you into the future. I'll sue you into oblivion. And I thought this was going to be a take on that. And I wrote down in my notes, I was like, oh, is he doing a Prince bit this early in his career? It was Michael Jackson, obviously, but Prince famously said no. Kurt Cobain famously said yes, but it better not be about food. And it wasn't. It was about fans of Nirvana, basically. Coolio famously hated his cover, his Amish Paradise, famously hated it, and they had a bit of a beef. Madonna, in the Weird movie, how she's like the Weird Al effect, like brings your sales up a bit. That's real. That's a real thing that happened in Madonna. Then there's James Blunt recently, like in the last 10 years, was like, he made the song. It was called You're Pitiful instead of You're Beautiful. And his record company was like, do not release that. You can release that if you make $0 from it, essentially. And then Eminem, he made the 8 Mile parody about TV, and Eminem hated it, and they were about to make the music video for it. It was about to be the single, and Eminem was like, do not make a video for that. I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it. So like he gave him his permission, and then reneged and was like, do not do anything else with that. So Weird Al had some near misses and stuff over his career, but for the most part, everybody else is like, yeah, I'll take that little boost in record sales because you put out a parody. Sure. That's the history of the Weird Al effect.
It's weird that people are so anti having a parody of their song. I don't know. I guess they just don't want people to be humming the wrong version while they walk down the street.
Prince famously took himself way too seriously. Like,
well, he was also an insane person.
It was also an insane artist person. Like those Charlie Murphy stories from Chappelle's show about going to Prince's, I believe happened word for word.
Yeah, or if
you wanted to play basketball and eat pancakes and shit, like
if you've ever heard the Kevin Smith stories about Prince's house and how
yeah,
crazy it is. Yeah.
That's why I thought this bit was a Prince thing.
I feel like Weird Al doesn't really like hate on the people who say no, though. He's just like, it's their music. Like, if they can say no if they want to, and if they do, I don't do it. Because he also could just do it. Like he could just do it if he wanted to.
Even in this moment when he's asking Michael Jackson if he can use his song, he's like, it's a parody of Beat It, but it's Eat It. Even he knows it's
kind
stupid.
Of embarrassed.
I would like some Liberace Hawaiian shirts, please.
Where do you get a Liberace Hawaiian shirt?
I don't know.
Was that one that Weird Al was wearing in the movie?
There was a moment where they had like a rack of fancy Hawaiian shirts.
So I think that's this next moment, because Dick Clark so his career's off and running after this because he gets to do Eat It. And then we get the Eat It music video, which is a 1-to-1 recreation of Beat It, basically. Sometimes his videos were pretty loose, but with his two Michael Jackson songs, specifically Beat It and Fat, they're like 1-to-1 recreations of the videos because they're such good music videos. And so another interesting thing is later in the movie we see Rick Derringer had some hits in the 80s, and famously Michael Jackson had Van Halen play on Eat It or Beat It. Rick Derringer, who most famously wrote the song Real American, which is Hulk Hogan's entrance theme from the 80s, he does the guitar on Eat It because he's also a kind of guitar virtuoso guy. And I always thought that was a neat thing. And also he wrote Real American, which is Hulk Hogan's wrestling theme, and you guys know how I feel about wrestling.
Love it.
Yeah, so Dick Clark, we get the one cameo in the movie, as Steve was ruminating on, is Dick Clark, who was a famous radio television personality. For instance, when the ball drops in New York City, that special is called Dick Clark's New Year's Eve special. Now it's hosted by Ryan Seacrest, but there's basically been, Dick Clark and then Ryan Seacrest to be the guy who presents things. I wish that I could have gotten that role. It turns out that later in life, that's like what I want to do. I want to just present things, but now I'm too old, and fat, and bald to get a wig and lose 20 pounds and become 20 years younger. Also would help if I could just get a de-aging machine and just be 20 years younger.
What about Bob Barker?
Bob Barker started when he was young, though.
That's fine.
Bob Barker started in the 60s.
Yeah, but he was better when he was older.
True, but you got to get that. That's why I'm doing so much podcasting now. So I have a 20-year podcasting career before I finally get, that fame and fortune from podcasting. Not that, this thing's not going to take off here. How many viewers do we have right now? 3. I'll take it.
All 3 of us.
All 3 of us. So then we get that montage of them loading things into his hotel room, and then this is another kind of goes on for too long montage of just like things being put in a room, changing up pictures with Transformers paintings. The song that's playing here is Midnight Star, which is basically, as I was talking about earlier, it is supposedly a style parody of Toto, but Weird Al does have a few songs that are 100% just Weird Al, and this one is one of them. Another one is Albuquerque, the hardware store, which started as a parody of a Presidents of the United States of America song, but then he just changed trajectory halfway through. He's got a few songs, and the thing, Weird Al has his own sound, which is interesting. Weird Al does write pop rock, and it has a sound to it. So if you go back and listen to old Weird Al albums, the songs that aren't parodies or style parodies or pastiche do have like a certain sound to them. And I've always found that to be interesting. I'm also a huge nerd, so
I lost
What?
on Jeopardy, baby. Ooh.
And then I realized that this is the closest to a music video we'll probably ever have for Midnight Star. Midnight Star is a song about a fictional tabloid called the Midnight Star, and in the song he's just talking about different, like, Bat Boy, you know, we have a telephone that lets you talk to the dead, you know, tabloid headlines, Bigfoot seen in the city, um etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did make a note here that I was like, I wish the Weird Al story newer movie had more, like, it has some really absurd things in it, but I wish it had more of like this part, because this kind of part of his career in that movie is just where he goes on that drug trip, which is pretty absurd. Then I wanted to do, so the fans buying merch part, I wanted to know how much so the pins are $7. $7 adjusted for inflation. Inflation. Okay, let me see if I can figure this out quickly. Okay, well, this is gonna. I'm guessing that $35, because they say 7 for 35 or whatever. $35, 1985 to 2023 would be, holy shit. So when he's like $7 or 5 for 35, that $35 adjusted for inflation is $98.
Nice.
That's a lot of money for
Yeah, $7 is $19.64.
Yeah, that's a trivial fact that we just found out. And they have a fake Weird Al who they're
I
taking
mean, that's
pictures
how much
with.
shit is if you go to a concert.
That's true. That's true. A hoodie. I wanted to get a hoodie at Aussie, and
Speaking of, if anyone wants a hoodie,
we have artwork to put on hoodies. We're gonna put it up on our Redbubble, possibly on Steve's Redbubble. Maybe we'll make our own.
We should probably make our own, because then I'll be getting all the money.
Yeah, and you'll lie and you'll make millions of dollars off our backs and our hard work. Just
Listen,
kidding.
I have hundreds and hundreds of images up there, and I don't make a lot. So make like $40 a month.
Hey, that's pretty good.
A lot of people buy stickers.
A lot of people like your pictures of the Batman's Rogues Gallery, and I don't blame them. Good. Go check out Steve's Redbubble. Boba Blackfly, I assume.
It is. That's correct.
And also buy our hoodies. We have merch now, technically. This is our soft ad, or soft launch.
shameless plug.
It's not shameless. I got no shame. Shameful.
Shameful.
It's our shameful plug. I don't have any shame, but this is quite shameful.
I'll tell you what I do like. I like sleeping in a single person sleep pod.
We're not there yet. We're
Damn.
almost there. Not quite. The last thing I wanted to mention before we moved on was Weird Al starts walking up, somebody grabs him, they get a picture. And then we get live concert footage of him playing Buckingham Blues, which is a blues song about the can't have dead air, Kalen. If I stop talking, you gotta go, buddy.
No, I was letting you. This is just the signal that I want to say something after you're done.
Say it.
We are now at the moment where the movie title. Actually, give it a few more seconds. Movie title shout out at 1 hour 34 minutes and 11 seconds.
Oh, does he literally say the complete Al? Oh yeah, at the end.
Yeah,
he's like, "This is the complete Al," and then the camera moves up. Okay, great.
Thank you.
You couldn't find an MPAA rating, eh?
No MPAA.
This movie was not released in theaters. It was on TV. It's a TV movie.
Oh,
so no MPAA.
I think it was also sold at concerts on VHS, as I recall.
It was released in 1985, in September, I believe, or August 1985 on the television. And then September 1985, it was released on video.
Cool.
And then in November of 2014, it was released on DVD.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I do regret not owning this on DVD, just to like have.
I bet it's super expensive right now.
Probably. Did you, Steve? I know you like to be as legit as possible. Were you able to? Did you look up buying like a hard copy of it at all?
Not a hard copy. No, I was
No.
looking for digital copies, but I couldn't find it. And I mean, I could find it, but I just rented it because I was like, I don't think I need this.
We're out of nowhere. Weird Al's gonna get a royalty check for 3 cents. Be like, wow, 3 people fucking rented this off YouTube all at the same time.
Maybe we'll give him a boost. He'll get some
Yeah,
other renter from watching this.
it'll be the "Hey, did you see this one" effect, where
Yeah,
because we talk about movies and they get a little boost. I wonder if that happens on the big movie podcasts. I wonder if
it
like
did for me. It for the one that I follow. Yeah,
like I wonder if like when Red Letter Media does those retroscopes, is that the word? Retrospectives.
Retrospective reviews.
I wonder
It
if
definitely
like
does. Yeah, if people with millions of followers, because like I listen to a podcast every Sunday, and they do filmographies for directors, and some of the movies I've never seen, so I'll try and find them to watch
yeah.
in some way before I listen to the podcast. And I know that I'm not alone in that, and they
yeah,
have like millions of
if
followers.
100,000 people do that, like if a podcast with 1 million listeners, if 100,000 people go and like rent the movie or buy the movie digitally, I bet the people go, oh, a little boost there.
Yeah.
45
Boost me up,
cents.
Scotty.
45 cents worth of royalties this month, buddy. Then we get another interview with his parents. His dad is kind of a natural actor, but his mom is like clearly reading off a cue card, which I thought was kind of endearing. But his dad seemed to kind of have it a little bit, kind of have that ability to just be natural on camera. And they talk about how everything was going fine, and then he fucking just had to go on Jeopardy and lose all his money. And then we get the music video for Jeopardy. The Jeopardy music video is very humorous. It's basically Weird Al just sucking at Jeopardy.
I like the beat.
It's a great song. It's a great tune. I want to actually listen to the original because I don't know if I've ever actually heard it before. Our love's in jeopardy, baby.
Baby. Ooh, those oohs, man. I love those
And then he goes to Japan.
And then he goes to Japan.
oohs.
So I'm watching this going, is this culturally insensitive?
I don't think so.
I think that it isn't.
The sleep pod, is that real or was that a joke? That
No,
kind of seemed insensitive.
That's
a real
real
thing.
Those are real.
Oh,
It's absolutely real.
well then, no, I don't think it's insensitive.
Japan is a small place with a huge population, so they perfected the living in close quarters, living in small areas sort of thing. The thing that I thought was a little bit insensitive was he kept speaking Spanish, kept opening like a Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
But also that's kind of like a funny.
Yeah, I don't think he was
funny.
doing that to like locals on the street. I think that he was the people were definitely in on the joke, and like if it's pretty funny that he's opening the wrong translation book and speaking the wrong language, and he's speaking a language that is spoken pretty commonly in his home country.
In his home country.
He lives in Los Angeles. It's pretty close to Mexico.
Big Spanish speaking population in that LA. I do really like that they showed. So this is pre-internet. If you would have seen the greaser culture just in a video, in a Weird Al video, do you think that's so bizarre? With the internet and with the world becoming smaller, I do know about that greaser culture. How Japan has this fascination with 1950s aesthetics to the point where they make like motorcycles and outfits and have pompadours that get increasingly bigger and bigger, comically huge pompadours.
Johnny Bravo.
Exactly. And this is like the early days of it, clearly, because the pompadours are pretty good. You know, they're pretty small. They just kind of look like Elvis. But if you go look up like Japanese greaser culture, you'll see some pretty crazy outfits and motorcycles and pompadours, and just there's a gang of greasers in a game I played recently in Yakuza Like a Dragon, which is like a kind of a parody of the Yakuza games by the same creators in the world of Yakuza. It's more of a comedy, and it's a JRPG, and you get all this, like, you see all these weird little subgenres in it. But there's this gang of greasers, and they have giant pompadours, and I thought that it was great to see this. he doesn't like the cultural insensitivity was when they're looking at the food that doesn't even look that bad, and he sees fish eyes and goes yeah, and then gets McDonald's, which again is like a little bit insensitive, but also like it's a joke, it's a gag. I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, I think the joke is that he's getting McDonald's. Like
Yeah.
that's the funny part.
I really liked when they show him performing "Eat It" on TV.
Was that real? Was that from an actual broadcast or something? It
I
seemed
think
like
so, because Weird
yeah.
Al has a few songs that he's translated into Japanese. The thing about him being huge in Japan is real.
Nice.
And that's a thing that happens. That's like how David Hasselhoff's music career. He's huge in Germany, huge, like Elvis. Uh, I think that's great that they did this with the guy eating a bunch of food and like the sumo wrestler guys like dancing in the
He eats a
background.
goldfish, like a live goldfish.
Was that what was in that cup? That's why he's
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah. The guy who does that was probably some big performer, some comedian of the 80s. Which is great. Then he goes to a pachinko parlor, and pachinko is a game that I really want to try. It seems to be incredibly addictive, incredibly fun. It's kind of like slot machines and roulette mixed together. He gets hooked, and then he goes back. This is when we get the capsule. He goes and sleeps in the capsule, and I think that capsule will be fun to sleep in. I always kind of interpreted them as being more small and claustrophobic, but that looked like it was enough room for me to stay in if I needed to. I think it'd be fine. You get a little TV and you get AM FM radio and
Yeah, I like sleeping in Torpedo.
I like sleeping in Torpedo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we get a segment of Al TV, which I talked about a little about briefly. He makes some kind of goofy jokes, but I ate this shit up when I was a kid. So just to reiterate, Weird Al would take over the station, and it wouldn't just be like, so Al TV and Al Music were a little bit different. Al TV was like pre-recorded tape that would be interstitials for his music videos, and he would take over. He can only take over for a couple hours, and then they'd show it again probably the next day. Like it'd be live Saturday night, and then Sunday afternoon they'd show it again. Al Music, when he would take over much, they were live. So he would just be it. He would like the VJs would walk around and be like talk and like go out onto Queen Street and talk to people on Queen Street and make little jokes and stuff. Like Rick the Temp, I remember him just being on Queen Street between music videos. And then Weird Al did that. So he was just live, and then he'd perform, and then they'd show music videos. And I used to tape them, and I had them. He had like three. He did it like 3 times during my childhood, and I had them all on tape somewhere. And I'd really like to go back and watch them. And that's where the those fake interviews that he does. Have you seen those before? Where he takes a real interview and puts himself in as the interviewer, and then makes it sound like they're saying funny things. That's where that came from Al TV and Al Music. And really big part of my childhood there. I wish that Weird Al still did that. I think that would be funny. But the thing is like Much Music shows sitcoms all day and like no
yeah,
music
much
video.
music sucks.
And I think MTV shows reality TV all day and like no music video.
Yeah, boo.
Yeah. Nobody cares about music videos anymore.
It's true, because
I
you can
do.
just go to Vivo or YouTube even.
Yeah.
I do like music videos still, but because nobody watches music videos, you don't get those crazy elaborate videos anymore, really. You'll get like a This Is America, Childish Gambino, like you'll get something like that every now and then, but for the most part it's just somebody like singing on a stage or a band literally just playing with
There's those 3 by the Weekend that kind of tell like a whole story arch.
That's because The Weeknd
arc.
is like he's an artist, right? Like he likes to do things like that. But then you'll get like Ariana Grande just like singing as a music video. Lady Gaga still makes good music videos, I'm pretty sure. Like the video for Applause, for instance, is very good. And he just makes dumb little jokes throughout this. I did like the one about ABBA and Elvis Costello are going on tour, and they're called ABBA and Costello. I thought that was good. And then ZZ Top, when they shave their beards, they're just the Three Stooges. His favorite sandwich is strawberry ice cream, carrots, and mustard on whole wheat bread, which is something I used to quote.
There's
The
a
way he's
Twinkie in there too.
Oh, there was a Twinkie in there too. Twinkie wiener sandwich. You'll know about his love for Twinkies from the next two movies. Um, the way he says whole wheat bread in that, I remember quoting that all the time when I was a kid. On whole wheat bread. Then we get
At least it's healthy.
what?
At least it's healthy.
Yeah, ish. Got carrots in it. The music video for This Is the Life plays here to sort of represent like how he's kind of rich and famous at this point. But do you guys know which movie that song's from? It was used in
Nope.
a Michael Keaton movie.
No.
Let me 1 second here. I can't remember the name of the movie. I can't remember the name of the movie, but I know which movie it is. It is on the original motion picture soundtrack for the comedy, the 1984 comedy Johnny Dangerously, which is a parody of like mafia movies, which I've never seen. I've never seen, but would enjoy watching thoroughly. Okay, sorry, you guys are getting sleepy. We're getting up there in time. That's when we get the first appearance of Harvey the Wonder Hamster, which Steve, you'll remember from the Weird Al show.
Yes.
Bits with the hamster, and then the song Harvey the Wonder Hamster from the Running Scissors album. Then we get the State of Shock. The gag with Harvey the Wonder Hamster. The gag with Harvey the Wonder Hamster is that he always is like, I love you, Harvey, you're so sweet, and then he murders him horribly. I also wonder since 1985 how many Harvey the Wonder Hamsters there have been.
Probably a lot. They don't live too long, them hamsters.
No, my favorite bit from the Weird Al show was when Macho Man elbow dropped Harvey the Wonder Hamster. Do you remember that? Macho Man Randy Savage. Okay, the stage shot bit, which is what Kaylin was just doing, which is they couldn't show the song, so they just got a guy to sort of sing it. Then the bit about ancient astronauts writing old school music. The thing that I mentioned earlier with Fleetwood Mac.
Babalu.
What?
Babalu or whatever was written on the rock.
Written on rocks. Babalu. White Album says thanks, Bob. And then he's like, if you look at this Led Zeppelin album, it's perfectly round, and he wobbles it. He's like, this is probably what an alien spaceship would sound like. And then he puts a scoop of cottage cheese on it. And he's like, yes, cottage cheese. Makes it look like a UFO. And then he plays Don't Fear the Reaper backwards, and it's just like a bunch of astronauts thanking each other for inventing rock and roll. Look, I liked that. I thought that was fun.
But that's not the movie. It's from his show. It's different. Like, that's the thing that's annoying to me, is that it's not the movie. This is not the movie. They're showing footage from something else.
That's true.
It's like literally padding time in a movie that's already too long. This movie's an hour and 40 minutes long, and it's like a lot of it is just stuff from his television appearances, his music videos, just like hacked up and then splintered together with or splinted together with things that aren't fun, like bad bits. That's the thing that I find annoying. I'm now seeing right now the Fleetwood Mac balls thing, but yeah, you're both right. He did make those. He made those lines white so you could see them a little bit better. But now I'm like, Fleetwood Mac.
They were.
I never noticed that before.
Yeah,
I thought it was just his weird string belt.
It's Lindsey Buckingham's testicles. Then we get a bit that's sort of back to like the movie. We get a bit that's a parody of Brian Wilson's Pet Sounds album, which was like Brian Wilson going nuts for a year putting together Pet Sounds. But in this case, the album's called Me, Myself, and I, and it doesn't exist. And it's because it got deleted when he walked through airplane security with the tapes. So
we'll never know.
So,
and
like,
then
it got deleted by the airport, or like a magnet
by the magnets and the magnets and the yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. I would love to hear his crazy album. We get like you can kind of hear in the background some music that just sounds like a song being played backwards, which is kind of a parody of like of the Pet Sounds thing, but also like the White Album had Revolution Number 9, which was just a weird mess of noisecore. We get an interview with Rick Derringer here about how they're all worried about Weird Al. Weird Al's just fucking around in the background, just being a weirdo. And then we get an interview with his parents again. And I forget what they say here. I didn't write down what they said, but it is a interlude for the Like a Surgeon video. So they're like, I wish my boy could have been a doctor. Is that kind of what happened there? I don't remember.
Yeah, they're talking about him wanting to be an architect because they
yeah.
make money, but then doctors make more money, and then it's like, if you want, or yeah, it's just just them talking.
Extremely high culture stuff. Then we get the music video for Like a Surgeon. We're almost done here, and we're hitting our hard time pretty good, which is never happens. Was exactly enough content to talk about for this episode. It's not like when we do a John Carpenter movie, we could easily go 4 hours. Right. So then we get a bunch of merch gags, which
he can put his leg behind his head. I was impressed with that.
That's true. He can. That's a Weird Al famous trait. We just get a bunch of merch stuff, which is there's like a throwing disc and a punch inflatable and a Weird Al costume with people dressed up like Weird Al, and the edible bikini was the huge punchline there. And
it's also another gag that's in a lot of stuff too, right? And done to more applaud and more laughter. Like Spaceballs the flamethrower. Imagine they had a Weird Al flamethrower. That would be funny.
That would have been funny. And then talks about Yankland here. He holes up in his Yankland home owned by Charlie Chaplin, Ricardo Montalban. And then we get the gag with the girls blocking their face. You've seen with a lot of high profile actresses, but of course they don't want to be seen with Weird Al. And he's just like, yeah. And then we're about to get the video here for 1 more minute, but the producer accidentally puts on Babes in Bondage, which is probably a porno, I assume. And the music video for 1 more minute is another example of it being in this book, but the forward saying that it's music videos for things you've never seen. And I remember that video vividly because I love that song. I'd love to do it as karaoke someday.
I'll join you.
Sweet, we can do a duet. And then we get the directors and producers talking about how Weird Al's gone too far and how he's acting like a crazy person. And then Weird Al comes in and just like starts pitching all these weird ideas. Like, I want a kiwi and no, an eggplant, no, a kiwi. And I want somebody to be dressed up in bandages. And I want those bandages to be lime green. And he gets on the table and he's flailing and just giving ideas. And one guy's like, well, I guess you'd also want to see somebody riding into the sunset on horses. He's like, yeah, that's a great idea.
An army of potato heads.
Yeah. He's just listing off things that happened in the Dare to Be Stupid video, which is the final video they play. And it's one of my favorite Weird Al videos of all time. And it's cool that you give us that little bit of information about how he came up with that for this Compleat.
I don't know if the songs came up for this.
No, the songs
just the music videos were
the album like I said, the album at the time would have been the Dare to Be Stupid album. Interestingly, Dare to Be Stupid was used in the Transformers movie as well.
What?
Yeah, it's in there. It's nice. On the soundtrack. I don't think it gets to the Dare to Be Stupid. I think just the opening bit is in a scene like the
oh yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, basically that happens, and then Al has a breakdown. That's when he says the name of the movie. I didn't really have any theories for this one. There's no theory corner. I have more facts. This is the most probably research I've done without having to do research, just because I know so much about Weird Al. I think that I've gotten my knowledge dump of Weird Al out for this one.
Nice.
So when we do the actual movies, we'll be talking more about actual movies that have been made.
Well, the other movies are movies. They have narrative and structure and story.
I totally didn't Steve, it's funny that you brought up the fact that it's just a bunch of mishmash, because when it switches to the Al TV, the narrator's like, then he did Al TV, and then it just shows a half hour of Al TV.
Yeah, footage. Like it shows a big chunk of something that isn't the movie. It's like, it reminds me of those like Tenacious D shorts that were on HBO years and years ago, as if they were to show those and then just have, you know, like lengthy music videos and then just like other random stuff in between it all without any kind of real connecting tissue to it. And I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. But it's just like not a movie. It's not a movie. It's not even a mockumentary, really. It's just like a collection of stuff,
Yeah,
which I guess is fine. It's the complete Al, right?
for the time.
Yeah, it's
I
just a
think
collection of his work.
I think say more and make it your final thought, and we'll just do final thoughts out of that.
All right. You know, while I like Weird Al, and you know, I still like his music for the most part, and I did like it a lot when I was a kid. I've kind of, you know, like a lot of the older comedy that we do on this, you feel like you grow past it. But the nice thing about Weird Al is that his stuff, when you go back to it, you don't find it riddled with stuff that is like no longer appropriate and is just painful to watch
There's
through a
one
modern
song.
lens.
There's one song he made that he actually kind of apologized for, and he does like a Jamaican patois for gonna buy me a condo, and that's just because doing a appropriating an accent is like, don't do that.
Yeah, but I mean, even that is not as bad as most of the stuff that we find when we go watch a comedy, even from like the late 90s.
Yeah.
But I do think that he's more entertaining as a musician and a performer than he is as an actor. I'm always very aware that he's acting. He doesn't feel natural. And when you watch him in interviews and stuff, you can tell that like he is putting on a persona for these acting roles, but they don't feel real. And I do think that he gets better, like as he gets older. I think next week will be interesting because I think it's only 4 years after this movie. And then, you know, you look at something like Weird, where his role in that movie is very minimal, which is smart on his part to not play himself in the movie and to get somebody who is a very, very good actor
Very good
to
actor.
play him. Good idea. But this is not a movie. It's not a mockumentary. It's just a collection of music videos and segments from other works broken up by very flat comedic bits. I didn't hate it, but I didn't find it to be easy to get through. It was kind of a chore for me, and I don't have any nostalgic connection to it in any way. I do not remember his show outside of the kids show that I told you about. I don't know if I've ever even seen it, to be honest. And it's also pretty clear that most of the money went to filming the new music videos, which is fine. But when it comes to talking about something like this, there's not much meat on the bone for me. I mean, obviously, you were able to fill the time with your extensive knowledge about Weird Al, and I'm just going to have to take you at your word on everything you said.
Look it
Even
up.
though a lot of the time when you talk about things, I'm like, I don't know if this is true or not. But
I know, dude. I promise you that everything I said was correct.
Okay,
I know
believe
a lot
you.
about
I'm
Final
not going to go look
Fantasy,
into
Weird
it.
Al, and wrestling. Those are my three subjects that if I went on Jeopardy, I'd probably dominate.
I do look forward to watching the more narrative-based movies, but overall, I found this movie to be dull and unfunny. I give it a dare to be stupid, and it accepted the dare, and now we're both looking at each other embarrassed.
Oh my god, feels I really feel.
Nice.
All right, that was a scathing review of the Compleat Al. Kaylin,
I don't think I can recommend this to somebody who has no connection to it at all. Like, if you like the Weird movie with Daniel Radcliffe, that does not mean you're gonna like this movie at all. Like, so anyway, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Kaylin, hit us with it.
So yeah, it was mentioned earlier, but I feel like this movie helped me understand Jason that much better. I'm not a huge Weird Al fan, but I enjoy it enough. As far as what went well, the Barry Cohen character, it was, in my opinion, so bad that it was good. And then my even better was the filler videos like that you were talking about, Steve, and maybe do a behind the scenes of the making of the video or something instead of like those clips. The fact that this was so hard to find, I'm gonna say it's a buy, because you're probably rolling in dough if you own the original copy. And I give it a year round of Hawaiian shirts.
Cool. That's good. That's good. I feel like you may have liked it a bit more than Steve. Steve, I think you may have been a little bit too analytical, and Kaylin, you saw the whimsy, but this is a movie review podcast, so I appreciate both of your views. This, for my final thought, I didn't write anything down. I was just gonna wing it because like this movie is special to me for particular reasons, not because I think it's a good movie. And I wanted to do it much like we did Cannibal the Musical last year, which was it's kind of a hard thing to find. I think that was free on YouTube. Like I just wanted to get a complete picture of a certain thing. And last year was Trey Parker and Matt Stone's Filmworks. This year it's Weird Al's Filmworks. But this movie sort of is all encompassing for his career up to that point. And while it is wacky and silly, it is sort of a cool time capsule for this era of Weird Al, which I really like. Now I'm not going to give this movie a high rating. I'd probably give it like a 1.5 or a 2 out of 5, which I think is pretty generous. That said, it's very like nostalgically, it's crazy how hard this hit me. Like I got up today and I was like, I don't really feel like doing this. Like I kind of dropped the ball on getting together on time today and felt kind of crappy when I woke up and started watching it. I just kept getting these pangs of fucking nostalgia and core memories unlocked and bada boom, bada bing. And by the end of it, I was stoked to talk about it. I was excited to talk about Weird Al. So I can't say I would recommend it to somebody that tangentially knows who Weird Al is. And I wouldn't say, if you like the Weird movie, go back and watch the Compleat Al. If you liked the Weird movie, go watch UHF, because those two movies go together. Then this will go together with either of them. But for me, there was a point where all I had was this and UHF for Weird Al movies. And I used to kill them. I used to rent them like alternating weekends sometimes just to always have some sort of Weird Al on the tape deck. Like I remember getting Bad Hair Day for Easter so vividly and slamming chocolate and listening to Amish Paradise and getting a stomach ache. Like sense memories that way, right? That's how big a fan I was at different times. Like I remember discovering the Polka Party album, which I didn't know existed. Like
I had that one.
Going through CDs and finding that and being like, I didn't even know it existed, blew my mind.
That was
It's a
one of
good
the
one.
ones I had. Yeah, I know, and I am a fan of Weird Al, and I have always liked Weird Al since I discovered him. I just I don't know. I don't think it's fair to call this a movie.
No, and I agree with you. But you do see what I'm saying, right? Like comparatively, it's kind of like a Cannibal the Musical where it's objectively bad, but it's kind of necessary to get a
Yeah,
full
but at least
picture.
Cannibal the Musical has a narrative
A
structure
narrative.
to follow,
Yeah,
and there's a story there, and you can see acting chops from people that are now essentially like billionaires.
that's true.
But I did appreciate that you were able to speak so confidently about the history of like just Weird Al in general, which is good because like I found that more interesting than I did the movie itself. I forgot to do my what went well and what could have been better, but I mean, what went well for me was the music videos that they made. I guess that came out of this, and they were able to air those, and I'm sure that was really good for his career. What could have been better? They should have tried their hardest to get more likable or known faces to play some of those characters that were just like day player actors. I don't know if they were just friends of his or something, but even if they just had one or two sprinkled throughout, or like got them to play different characters or something, get creative with it in some way, it could have made a huge difference in the quality of the humor, because
Yeah.
it's one thing to write a funny joke, but to perform it is completely different.
I think my what went well is the mockumentary bits that were actually engaging were fun, and the music videos obviously are music videos, so they're timeless, they're great. Even better, I think that if they made a separate release of Al Music or Al TV and condensed this one a little bit more and made like two separate things that sort of go together, one where you get like a complete Al set, right? Where one side of it is Al, whatever Al Music existed at the time, which was probably only the first one, which was probably only about 3 hours long. right, with music videos, and then a more mockumentary style mockumentary that's based more heavily off of Spinal Tap, where
Side A and side B. So like side A mockumentary, side B the music video.
the music videos, you know what I mean? Because it felt like putting the music videos in kind of stops the story. And I get what they were trying to do. This is like a supplemental thing that they wanted to sell at concerts and show on TV, you know what I mean? But if they hadn't known that Weird Al was going to, like, if they did one of these now, it'd be so much better. Like, they would probably do something like that and would be made to be sold at concerts. A lot of times you can get full concert albums at his concerts. Like, you can get the Alpocalypse tour concert when you go to his show, and it's great to see a full concert of Weird Al's on tape like that. But I think this is good enough for the time.
It's also mind-blowing to me that it's an hour and 40 minutes, which means that this was probably shown on TV over the course of 3 hours.
Yeah,
with commercial breaks and stuff. It was probably a 3-hour long thing.
And like a news break.
Insane to
remember when they'd have like a 10-minute news break in the middle of like the
Sunday
movie?
Yeah, like a 15-minute long like chunk where you could just go scarf some dinner down quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that said, I give this movie a Twinkie wiener sandwich.
Nice.
Basically. And
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's got good elements and it's got bad elements, buddy. with extra spray cheese.
Like, all the pieces are good, but when you put them together, it's
there's some bad shit. It blew my mind when I was 12 and there was no other Weird Al media. That, you know what I mean? Like, I saw this before UHF also, so that was my only context during that time. But with that, I think we're gonna take this bad boy home.
Take us home.
So, let's see here. For Kalen and for Steven, I'm Jason.
For Steven and Jason, I'm Kellen.
For Jason and for Kalen, I am Steven.
And we have to ask the same question we ask each and every week, and that's, hey, did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one? Hey.
Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Bebop, beep, baba boop, baba beep, baba boom, or whatever.
What?
Hey, you want to go Babaloo later?
On the mountain, you mean?
Baba Booey. Baba Booey, Baba Booey.
Babu baby.
Did we get a sign? Did we get a last comment stamp yet?
No.
Oh, I forgot that we do that.
Hit us with something silly.
This movie sucked.